Meditation and Spiritual Life by SWAMI YATISHWARANANDA. Divine Discontent. We must rouse a tremendous divine discontent. The discontent the mystics of all ages speak of. Unless we are able to rouse in the soul this divine discontent which can destroy all our attachments to worldly things and desires, we will not be able to get real yearning for spiritual realization. There can never be any real peace in the world, though we must play our part in it as best as we can. Likewise, there must never be any kind of slackness in our striving for any kind of satisfaction with our present state of bondage. Such forms of satisfaction are very dangerous for all spiritual aspirants. We must consciously keep burning the fire of hankering and yearning for the higher life. We must never waste our energies for anything lower. We must never prefer the peace of lethargy to this restlessness of spiritual achievement. There can be no security unless we have already proceeded very far towards the ultimate goal. Any devotee may come to grief or have a nasty fall at any moment before he has attained to self-realization. So we should never risk too much relying on our own strength before having advanced considerably. Spiritual practice and prayer must be intensified. Constant prayer day and night, constant meditation, constant thinking of higher thoughts would do us immense good. The mind of the beginner must be kept constantly busy with divine ideas so as to create the habit. After having created the right habit, the path becomes smoother and there is less strain in the life of the spiritual aspirant. We must give our whole mind to God, not merely a bit of it. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if I want to buy a piece of cloth worth 1 rupee, I will have to pay 1 rupee and not 1 paisa less. Otherwise, I shall not get it. So also in spiritual life, if you don't pay full attention, you simply don't get anything. If after practicing meditation perfunctorily for a few months or even years, you find that you have got nothing spiritually, you have nobody else to blame. What we need is perseverance. There must be steady, regular practice. Let us rather die in the struggle to keep our body and mind pure than give it up. What does it matter even if we die? What matters is that we realize the truth, that we attain our full stature, our true being if we struggle our utmost. If we do our utmost, we will have fulfilled our duty. Then the rest must be left to the divine. Here, true self-surrender and resignation to the Lord have their place. The man who has intelligence for his charioteer and the well-controlled mind for reins attains the end of the journey, that supreme abode of the divine, says the Kathopanishad. We should never be contented or satisfied with ourselves and think we have done our best. It may have been our best for the time being, but we should pray to the divine for greater and greater strength to be able to do more. Today I may be able to lift only 10 pounds, but I can ask for the strength to lift 100 pounds. My capacity can be increased, even if I think I have already done my best and I am doing my best, because this best is not a fixed quantity. Next, example of saints. We must cultivate intense yearning for God, the unceasing, uncompromising quest for God that we find in the lives of saints and sages. Sri Chaitanya was a great scholar in his younger days, but at the prime of his youth he underwent a sudden conversion and became an ardent lover of God. His love of God was so intense that he could not forget him even for a second. His whole life was spent in spiritual inebriation. His ecstatic devotion finds its expression in a small poem he wrote, in which he says, "Ah, how I long for the day when in chanting your name the tears will spill down. From my eyes and my throat will refuse to utter. its prayers choking and stammering with ecstasy. When all the hairs of my body will stand erect with joy, ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from you, O Govinda, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet, let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of your arms nor bewailing the withdrawal of your presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O Lord, who steals the hearts of his devotees, do with me that you would, for you are my heart's beloved, you and you alone. Prahalada was an example of the saints praised in the Puranas. Even from childhood, he had intense devotion for Lord Vishnu. His demoniacal father tried all in his powers to turn the boy to a worldly path, but the young boy braved all the cruel ordeals and went on with his ecstatic praising of the Lord. When the Lord appeared before the boy and asked him what he wanted, he said, "May I think of you with that strong love which the ignorant cherish for the things of the world, and may that love never cease to abide in my heart. My Lord, should thousands of birth fall to my lot, may I still always possess an unshakable and unflinching devotion to thee." In modern times, Sri Ramakrishna stands as an unparalleled example for intense yearning of God. His longing for the vision of God in all his aspects was so great that he didn't sleep for 6 years. He spent his time day and night in various spiritual moods which were so intense that people thought he had become mad. He was indeed divine and in divine madness. In the book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which contains his authentic teachings and conversations, we find the idea of yearning for God stressed very much. Indeed, we may say that the chief discipline that Sri Ramakrishna prescribed for all his aspirants was this yearning. The following passage is a typical example. The Master says, "One must have for God the yearning of a child. The child sees nothing but confusion when his mother is away. You may try to cajole him by putting a sweet meat in his hands, but he will not be fooled. He only says, 'No, I want to go to my mother.' One must feel such yearning for God. Ah, what yearning! How restless a child feels for his mother. Nothing can make him forget his mother. He to whom the enjoyment of worldly happiness appears tasteless, he who takes no delight in anything of the world, that is money, name, creature comforts, sense pleasure, becomes sincerely grief-stricken for the vision of the mother. And to him alone the mother comes running, leaving all her duties. Ah, that restlessness is the whole thing. Whatever path you follow, whether you are a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Shakta, a Vaishnava or a Brahmo, the vital point is restlessness. God is our inner guide. It doesn't matter if you take a wrong path. Only you must be restless for him. He himself will put you on the right path. Besides, there are errors in all paths. Everyone thinks his watch is right, but as a matter of fact, no watch is absolutely right. But that doesn't hamper one's work. If a man is restless for God, he gains the company of sadhus and as far as possible corrects his own watch with sadhus' help. Bankim said to the Master, one of the devotees who was present, "Sir, how can one develop divine love?" Master said, "Through restlessness. The restlessness a child feels for his mother, the child feels bewildered when he is separated from his mother and weeps longing for her. If a man can weep like that for God, he can even see him. At the approach of dawn, the eastern horizon becomes red. Then one knows it will soon be sunrise. Likewise, if you see a person restless for God, you can be pretty certain that he hasn't long to wait for his vision." All the intimate disciples of Sri Ramakrishna had this burning passion for God. Balram was one among them. His first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna is very revealing. It goes like this. The day following his arrival in Kolkata, he started for Dakshineshwar, who Bankim. There was a great crowd in the temple garden owing to the presence of Keshav Chandra Sen and his Brahmo followers. Balram sat in the corner of the master's room, and when the party went to eat, Sri Ramakrishna called to him and inquired if he had anything to ask. Balram said, "Sir, does God really exist?" "Certainly," replied the master. "Can anybody realize him?" "Yes," said the master. "He reveals himself to the devotee who thinks of him as his nearest and dearest. Because you do not get any response by praying to him once, you must not conclude that he doesn't exist." But again, interrogated Balram, "Why can't I see him when I pray to him so much?" Sri Ramakrishna asked with a smile, "Do you really consider him as dear to your heart as your own children?" "No, sir," said Balram, after a moment's pause. "I never felt for him so strongly." The master said in an animated voice, "Pray to God, thinking him as dearer than your own self. Verily I tell you, he is most attached to his devotees. He cannot but reveal himself to them. He comes to man before he is sought. There is none more intimate and affectionate than God." Balram got a new light from these words. Every word of what he says he thought within himself is true. Nobody ever spoke to me so forcibly of God.